Harlem, a section called Hamilton Heights, so named because Alexander Hamilton, one of our founding fathers, he lived 2 or 3 doors up. The reason we're here today is that New York City has taken a dramatic step to protect its citizens from carbon monoxide poisoning. They've mandated that any residential dwelling, school, or hospital that burns fossil fuel, that's oil or gas, must have a carbon monoxide detector installed starting this year. Now, we got an email from this homeowner right here. They're just in the process of converting this beautiful townhouse from 5 dwelling units back to a single, a big, beautiful single. And they have a young family, so they're worried about carbon monoxide poisoning. Today we'll be joined by an expert. He's a home inspector and a former deputy fire marshal. So let's get started. Hello, Richard Trethewey, Access Old House.
Come on in, nice to meet you.
Welcome to New York.
Thank you very much. Well, I tell you, you guys are homeowners after our own hearts, working on this beautiful gem.
Thank you, Richard.
Now, when do you think it was built? Late 1800s?
1898.
1898. It is really something to see. How long have you guys been here?
Well, we arrived on its 100th birthday in 1998.
Right. Well, it looks terrific.
Well, it didn't always look like that when we arrived.
Oh, yeah?
Well, for example, there was a huge wall separating one of the units. And when we started demo work, we uncovered this amazing original millwork.
So all this was covered up?
Yes.
Boy, look at it. It's a lucky thing nobody cut that out originally. That's great. Columns in great shape. That's great. And look at the parquet floors. That original?
Yes, it's original. And we're restoring the floors above as well.
Beautiful.
So come on in. This is our formal dining room.
Look at this. Look at the ceiling height. You just don't see this nowadays. And your eye goes right to this fireplace.
Yeah.
Beautiful mantle.
We now have a wonderful craftsman. He's in the process of restoring the fireplace mantle.
Well, look at that. He's just doing a great job making it look like it's always been there.
It just went in yesterday.
Tell him he's doing a good job.
We will.
Now, I had an expert supposed to be joining us. Have you heard from anybody?
Yes, he arrived earlier, and he's set up in the basement.
Great.
Let's go.
Okay. Hey, Steve. How you doing?
Hi, Richard. How are you?
Thanks for helping us out today.
You're welcome.
Nice to see you. Tell me, how big a problem is carbon monoxide?
Carbon monoxide can be a tremendous problem in houses because most people don't realize, because it's colorless, odorless, and tasteless, that it can actually hurt you and make you sick.
I've heard it called the silent killer.
Absolutely. If the person is not realizing that they're getting poisoned, they may be getting headaches, nauseous, or feeling uncomfortable, and they can be getting poisoned at the same time.
Now, I want to start with a little primer, Roy, on what the issue is. Anytime we have a combustion appliance that burns fuel, fossil fuel, oil or gas, we need 2 things. In this case, it's gas and air. It comes into this chamber and burns. One of the natural byproducts is carbon monoxide. That carbon monoxide works its way up the vent pipe, across and into a chimney, and works its way right up through the chimney, out into atmosphere, end of story, no problem.
Well, that's if everything is working okay. But as a home inspector, what I'm looking for is whether there's enough air coming into the room, whether there's corrosion on this pipe, because that might let carbon monoxide come out into the room.
Sure, that would be helpful.
I'm also looking to see whether or not this pipe is screwed together to make sure that it's not going to wobble and come apart.
Sure. The same on the water heater?
Sure, the water heater, we've got a stack pipe that's going across. We want to make sure that that's in good shape, and we want to make sure that the bonnets on there are straight.
And I'd like to see this thing screwed up, because
Yeah,
this
that's
could
not
get knocked
good.
off, and that would be dangerous. Now, I've heard of cases of blocked vents where a squirrel or a raccoon get up into the top of a chimney, it's nice and warm there, they die, fall down to the bottom, and block the vent.
That's not good, and what can happen if that gets blocked is the flue gases will actually come out, and that's called spillage. And when we have spillage, one of the ways that we can test is we can take a mirror and we can put the mirror up against the side of this, and because it's heavily laden with moisture, it will actually fog the mirror.
So it would come out through the sides right here.
Correct.
All right.
Another way that we can test is we can use an instrument that, if you'll turn the water heater on,
All right.
if we put the sensor of the instrument in here, we can actually get a reading of how many parts per million are coming out of the water heater.
And what sort of reading might you get?
Well, I'll typically get anywhere from 50 to 100 parts per million in the instrument, and that indicates that it's burning okay.
What if it was way higher?
If it goes way higher, it's going to indicate that we need a professional cleaning.
All right. So what level of CO or parts per million could you accept up in the living space?
I wouldn't accept any level up in the living space. If we get readings of over 250 parts per million, that person could get very nauseous and be very ill. If we get readings over 400, that person could become unconscious and could die.
Would die. All right, so CO detectors, where do they go in the building?
Well, let's go look in the living space.
Okay.
Let's put these down in here. I've brought a whole collection of carbon monoxide detectors for you to look at today.
Good.
So Steve, what do we have here?
Well, these are the least expensive ones. They're about $20, $25, and this one actually plugs into the outlet. The other one here is actually battery operated as well as a plug-in.
You know, that's actually not a bad idea, because as soon as the power goes out, what do people do? They're going to light a fireplace.
Right, or a generator or a hibachi or a kerosene heater. People do some foolish things when the power's out.
I bet. Now, what are these two?
These are actually combination smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. So this is hardwired in.
So that would sit right up on the ceiling and wire right to it.
Right.
That's a neat idea, having a combo. But, you know, we're really concerned about it conflicting with our ornate ceilings. We've just gone through so much pain restoring them.
Well, smoke detectors have to be mounted on the ceiling because smoke rises, so that's your protection. But carbon monoxide detectors, because the density of carbon monoxide is like air, it's going to fill the whole room, we can mount those on a baseboard, or in this particular instance with a digital battery, we can actually put this on a bookshelf and have it protect you without doing any damage to your ceiling.
So it can be anywhere.
Right.
How much are those, Steve?
These are going to be about $40 to $55.
All right, now this is digital. I love anything digital. What's this going to do for me?
Well, this is like the instrument that we use downstairs. This is going to actually give you the readings that are taking place in the room at that moment up to a peak. So if you have a high reading, it's going to show you the peak, and it's going to show you prolonged usage.
As I understand it, that is the big deal about carbon monoxide, right? It's not just the peak. It is really the prolonged effects over time that's dangerous.
Steve, how many of these do I need, and where do I put them?
Well, if I had my preference, I would have you put one on every floor. But if you're going to do the minimum, I would at least like to see one outside the sleeping rooms.
All right, why is that?
Well, because if you're in a deep sleep and your furnace or your fireplace or your water heater is malfunctioning, we want that unit to wake you up.
Make that thing squeal and get you awake to be safe. Well, great. I cannot thank you enough for shedding some light on it for us. Thanks.
Yeah.
I feel safer already. Thanks for coming by.
All right, which ones do you want?
I like all of them. I'll take them all.
Important piece, Richard.
It was. And I tell you, I've learned a lot more since that piece. One is that normally red blood cells carry oxygen to all of our vital organs. Well, carbon monoxide gets in and attaches to the red blood cells and displaces the oxygen. You end up really suffocating.
Wow.
Well, there's really no excuse for it.
No, not nowadays. There's so many choices, and it's not a lot of money.
So it sounds like it's real cheap insurance.
It is. There's one more tip I got to remind you too, though. With a smoke detector, you have to remember to change the batteries. With a CO detector, you have the batteries, but you also have a sensor that has a given shelf life, and that's between 5 to 7 years.
So eventually you want to replace the unit.
Absolutely. You want to be safe.
Okay, well, thank you.
Great.
So what happened to the Red Sox cap I gave you?
I didn't make it much past the airport. They did not want me to wear that into New York.
Well, until next time, I'm Kevin O'Connor
I'm Tom Silva.
I'm Rich Trethewey.
And I'm Roger Cook.
for Ask This Old House.
If you have a question about your house, email us at asktoh@pbs.org or write to us at the address on the screen.
Here's to the